I do have some beginning words to say about Dorothy Curry, who's going to start off this event this evening. She first came to St. Andrews in 1987 with her husband, but the first time I met Dorothy Curry was when I was eavesdropping. The first time I met Dorothy was by overhearing a conversation between her and Deacon Beck Schubert. They greeted each other as they settled into the front pew of the side chapel for the Friday Eucharist. Beck asked Dorothy how she was doing, and Dorothy responded, "Better than an 80-something woman should ever expect to be." And I immediately thought, I've got to get to know this woman. Since that day, I have continued to admire Dorothy and her heart for music, art, and education. Sorry, Dorothy, but I've been observing you. I've heard you ask insightful questions of the teachers at Gordon Park School. I've participated in an Operation Breakthrough bus tour to learn about your work with single mothers and their children, offering friendship and assistance. I've seen photos of you deep into the garden at Banneker Elementary and inspiring active learning and the healing impact of getting one's hands dirty in some garden dirt. It's very healing. We look forward to hearing about your outreach ministries tonight and all the speakers for this evening, and how the Master Gardener continues to transform you along your spiritual journey, and how the Holy Spirit may even inspire and transform us. Take it away, Dorothy. Walk away with the mic. There you go.
Well, what a blessing to be watched by hopeful, sweet eyes. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I was asking before this whose concept this was. Can't hear me?
No. Is the microphone on? The
It-
microphone isn't working in this room, but it's working online.
Do we have one that works though?
Why would I hold it? Oh, see, I had to ask a question, didn't I? Well, so forward. So the first project we want to share with you is the Banneker Schoolyard edible schoolyard garden. It really started at Gordon Park School. I gardened there for about 13 years, and I gardened there because we bought the school building. It's a charter school for underserved children, and it's down in the Westport area. And there were beds out there, and there was nothing in them except weeds. So that was tantalizing to me. And we began that, and the children did the work there, and I saw what being in the dirt and having curiosity produced. So when there came a time that I needed to step back from Gordon Parks, I discovered that there were people here at St. Andrews who were packing food for weekends for the Banneker School. And I knew it was near my favorite place, the Kansas City Community Gardens. And so I asked the school if the school would like to have a garden. And this was October. The school said, yes, we want a garden. And we're already planning a harvest party in October, which means that, yes, they were enthusiastic, and yes, they knew nothing about gardening. And for the first year I was there, they decided that there were a few children in the after-school program, and they could come and garden. And there would be 10 children for 20 minutes at the end of the school day. and it was kind of discouraging. But with volunteering, if you think you have a great idea, you need to stick with it, even when the people you're working with don't quite. They don't know what's in it for them. It takes a time. You have to have patience. And some people would think, well, they don't want me. I'm out of here. But I sort of made a bargain with myself. They kind of put me in a ditch, and I'll talk to you more about my ditches. But I was in a ditch, and I thought, how can this become something that that I'm intended to serve? And I decided I'd wait for a year and see what happened. And would you know that they will not let children out of classrooms in the morning? And so they would give us time in the afternoon. But today, the children are there, 6 classes of them every school year, scheduled to be in the garden in the morning. Actually, as soon as they arrive at school, a class will come out to have a garden lesson. And everybody in the school is very supportive and eager and happy. And so you're going to hear more about the garden from the volunteers. But anyway, it has come to be embraced. And do you see what I have on? The principal greeted me at the door one morning, and she said, just a minute, stay right here. And she came out with a bag with a bow on it and gave it to me. Now, I think in truth, they were looking at church for the school, and this is probably a sample that they got. But it's lovely to have teachers and a principal thinking about you and greeting you. So that's the beginning of our garden. I think you're going to hear more about the scope of it, but you could also see from here that and I want to say that when you see the blue pergola, that is new this year. The J.E. Dunn company, I knew that they'd made outdoor equipment and pergolas and gardens, and so I went to see them, and I explained that what we needed was something because the sun just beats down on the south side of the building, and the children would be sweating and wanting to go in. And so they needed protection from the sun. So when I explained what we needed and where we were and who needed it and what it was going to do, they said immediately, that is exactly what we want to partner with the community and making possible. So, of course, yeah, this will bounce back and forth between indoor and outdoor, between gardening and we call it culinary arts. So that was about 12 years ago, and we began with 4 little garden beds, and now it's miles of gardens. Let me see here. So what we do is we serve 2 mornings a week, Tuesday and Thursday morning. Volunteers are scheduled to be there. They've signed up to come, and we put them on the schedule for those 2 days. You don't have to garden 2 days. You don't even have to garden the whole 2 hours that we're there. You can come and help with 1 class, or you can help on 2 Saturdays a month maintenance. You'll hear more about that. You may know that, or I'll tell you that after 69 years of marriage, my husband died a few months ago in late October. If I have an aversion to ditches, that certainly would be a time in my life. But I also have I just believe that God wants us to do God's work and to not stay in ditches. So I have to try climbing out as quickly as I can. And so I like to think about things and solve problems, my problems. And the garden is a place that has me walking a bit above the ground. It's wonderful to work with other gardeners or people who don't garden at all who come and want to learn gardening. It's wonderful to work with the children. The teachers welcome us. The principal welcomes us. We're known in the school, and we're greeted from a great distance by all as we arrive. So it's my idea of being on Jesus' path. It makes me feel so happy. I forget. I turn from the ditch and go to the garden. There are things that happen there. I mean, children pull plants out of the ground unintentionally. Things happen that you have to work out real life there. It's not some completely pleasure-filled. It exercises your spirit that God gave us and I believe wants us to exercise. So what does it do for them? Well, I think that thinking about the greeting that we get every time we arrive tells me that we've made someone, we're remembered, and we're remembered. If they don't remember our name, they remember where they are with us, and they love being outdoors in the garden. It's worthy of considering that urban children aren't outdoors enough. There are various reasons for that, but here, what we do is we plant, we nurture the plants, we harvest the plants, we prepare the plants, we cook the plants, and we eat the plants. And so our kindergartners didn't know what kale was, but they think it's delicious. And there are lots of stories that come back to us about how the children are telling their parents, I know how to cook that, let's buy some of that. So the first volunteer I want you to meet is Kent Mon. All of these people have many skills, and when you come to St. Andrews on Sunday morning, he's the tall guy in the bass section. And he is so faithful, and I asked him one day, why do you come here, Kent? And he said, why not? But we'll have it elaborated on now.
I am Kent Mon. I've been at St. Andrews for singing in the choir for 66 years. And I'm a CPA by trade. I made two significant changes or decisions in my career along the way. The first was when my children were young, I became the first full-time business manager at St. Paul's Church and School, and worked there for 7 or 8 years. Continued coming to St. Andrews. People said, why do you do that? And I said, I'm at St. Paul's 6.5 days a week. I'll keep going to St. Andrews. But because of that, you can tell I like kids. I always have. I very much enjoyed my time at St. Paul's around the kids, with the exception of trying to coach an 8th grade girls basketball team with girls that had never played competitive basketball. But other than that, it was a great experience. And I think sometime along the way, my second decision, a few years later, after my wife had died and the kids were grown, I said, well, why not? I'm a dirt person and enjoy working in the dirt, and so I went to work at Soil Service Garden Center and worked there for about 16 or 17 years. I got to know my neighbor Dorothy Curry a little bit over there, and she just lived around the corner, and she was involved in some gardening at the time, and she said one time, you know, I could use some help over here at Gordon Parks. Sure, why not? So I went over there and helped her with some of the beds there, and one real vision that keeps coming back to me was being over there helping Dorothy, and it had to have been summer. This young, probably 10 or 11-year-old comes up with a smile on his face and says hi to Dorothy, and she says, "Would you like one of those?" And to see him pick that cherry tomato off the vine, pop it in his mouth with those big old eyes, how could you be anything but excited about what is going on in the garden? And I think I go back and remember one of the quotes that I think is in three or four of the Gospels, that suffer the little children to come unto me and forbid them not, for such is the kingdom of God. So we've got kids, we've got a garden, and such a great place in order to meet and do good. Again, running into Dorothy over at church at some point, about, 3 or 4 years ago, and I think there maybe something in the bulletin that they could use some help on weekend maintenance. Well, I work all the time, and I said, well, sure, I'll come on Saturday mornings. So the one thing I do miss, I can talk to the weeds. Gosh, as good as they take care of those beds, I don't know why the weeds do so well there. I guess because it's good soil. But so I miss the interaction with the kids. But I'm glad to lend a strong back, and I'd say been in the dirt quite often over the years, but help there every other Saturday morning, and keep the beds as cleaned up and producing as possible. I thought this end of this season, we grew some sunflowers that would put many of the trees in Kansas City to shame. They were 18 to 20 feet tall. She said, we tried to get them out, we couldn't do it. And literally, the stalk on several of these sunflowers were about like that, 4 to 5 inches, and took a saw and a deep shovel in order to remove them. So I'm involved in the maintenance aspect of it, but certainly enjoy seeing Dorothy and the rest of the group on every other Saturday morning. And that's my contribution to the garden at Banneker. Thank you.
So our next volunteer is Bonnie Vance, and you can meet volunteers any place. When you're having fun doing something, and someone will allow you to speak about it, there's always a chance that they'll say, where is that garden? And when is it that you'll be there next? So I met Bonnie at a meeting at St. Teresa Academy. We were leaving, and I told her about something that was going on. I call it the Big House. And it was a study and Bible discussion. And so she came there first, and then she yielded to coming to the garden and to what we do in the winter time also. Oh, we had such a great time working with that autistic class. Don't you remember? There is something that we can learn in that school just every hour. And that was something we really enjoyed. It's yours.
Okay, so my name's Bonnie Vance. I am a member of St. Elizabeth's Catholic Parish, and any Catholic woman with a brain is asking herself why she's there. Okay, so moving on. My involvement at St. Andrews started with the Christian Journey class, and that Dorothy told me about. I wish anybody that wants to talk, debate, disagree, and find their faith deepened, it's a wonderful class for it. The people are so bright. Having grown up Catholic, we don't know much about the Bible. They read it kind of thing, and so I've been doing that for a long time. That did morph into the garden. I'd never gardened, but I discovered quickly that all that means is you just pull weeds. Just saying. The kids are just wonderful. And okay, then I do Andy's Pantry, where I take a Banneker mom grocery shopping every other month, and that is also what a wonderful way to create a relationship with someone who's not you, is not your friends, is not anywhere in your bubble. That's been a wonderful experience. And then I started doing the culinary thing once again this year. Now, the reason all of this happened, and I want to warn you, never make eye contact with Dorothy. I'm just saying. Okay. So here I am. Okay, terrific. But if let me tell you a little about what goes on that day that we do the cooking. She's known as Miss Dot. She's a wonderful teacher and patient, doesn't get upset about things, and I'll talk about myself later, but Dorothy teaches 5-year-olds knife skills, sharp knives. Now, I want you to think about that. If you've ever had a 5-year-old or been around a 5-year-old, pretty exciting to get a sharp knife. And they learn how to, because she's teaching them how to do it correctly, how to cut potatoes and cut up the onion and cut up the garlic, tear the leaves off the kale. And if you're lucky, nobody bleeds in that process. I haven't always been lucky, what can I say? So after that, then they go put it all, you saw a picture of it probably up here, they put their stuff in a roasting pan. Again, now you've got 5-year-olds, very animated children, around something really, really hot. So again, where she's calm and cool, I feel like I'm flying a 747 and an engine went out. And I have to be really careful that nobody gets harmed and not panic. So I'll talk about myself. I have about 6 kids at the table. One immediately is removed from screwing around. And then here's the table. This one doesn't speak English. I want you to think about the challenge that presents to a teacher, much less a volunteer who's worried about this very sharp knife. And so eventually they'll go to the cafeteria and they will eat it, usually with great gusto. And then if there's any leftover, kids are lined up. They know when Miss Dot's there. They line up to eat the leftovers. So it's quite a wonderful experience. I was thinking about what it meant to my faith. I think it isn't for me about Jesus. It's about seeing something in somebody else's eyes. That would be Dorothy. And realizing you can't get away. But with these children, it's their eyes. They're just so bright-eyed. Do they know that when I go over there to 70th and Askew once a week, they don't know that I've driven over a red line? They don't know that, and I know that, and just think, this has just got to be different. When you look in their eyes, they really are the future. If we screw this up, I don't even want to think what's going to happen. But how do I want to end? Let's see, Kent. I remember you from cell service. It's Suffer the Little Children. In my professional life, I was a college teacher. I do great with kids who their parents can't call you. It's one of the real pluses of college, ain't it? Really? Goodbye. But I didn't think I have children of my own, and I wasn't very gifted with them when they were little. This is just so different. This is just so different. They are so precious, and I'm so grateful I've had the opportunity to work for them. So if you ever want to Remember, sharp, yeah, really sharp.
Good one. See what I mean? So our next volunteer is Amy Bales. We're related. Let's see, how would we call that? I don't know. Her son is married to my granddaughter. And so she's a new acquaintance and a fairly new volunteer, but boy, some people get it immediately. So, and I think there are many reasons for that. All our lives lead up to this moment. And so you'll discover something else wonderful.
Thank you. Yes, my name's Amy Bales, and I'm really excited to be here tonight. My husband came with me afterwards. Yes, my husband Robert came with me, and yes, I am family, and you explained how that I'm family, but I'm also part of the family of Christ and family of the body that we all work together in serving. So I was asked to explain, how I got involved and how I've been inspired or changed. And the way I did get involved was through Pam Curry. She knew I loved gardening and I loved children and I loved learning and eating, like eating healthy things. And so she was like, "This is for you," and she was right. I started in the fall, came to the garden, and I've just loved it ever since. And so I guess my main reason for serving is because Jesus' examples to us, he said, "I came to serve and not to be served." So he calls us to do the same. And it's really fun when you get to serve with children. And that's what makes it great. Specifically, I love learning and teaching about whole nutritious foods. And so my husband and I have served in the city for many years, and I've worked with people from lots of different nations, and it's so fun to learn what they grow in their different countries, and that's been a lot of fun. But specifically in the garden, like people have said, it's fun to see kids in the garden. They get excited with new veggies. They love to see the beautiful flowers. And so I just brought an example of a flower. One day we were teaching the kids how to pick flowers for their teachers. And so we said, "Oh, you need to pick a nice long stem like this." Well, one of the kids went like this. They were like, "Look at my pretty flower." And I was like, "That's great." And so they said, "Can I take this flower and stick it in the ground, and will it grow?" And I was like, "Well, not exactly. Let me show you something." And we're going to pretend this is a zinnia. And I said, "You take the flower, the little tiny seeds are right here. And you take one of those tiny little seeds and you put it in the ground. You put that in the ground, and then it'll grow into a huge, beautiful flower." So that was kind of a fun thing to teach the kids. They were excited about that. And they, like we've said, they eat veggies in the garden that they never even try in the cafeteria. Like even with the pizzas we make, we cut up all these beautiful peppers. Dorothy brings all these rainbow peppers and everything. We cut them up with sharp knives. And they make these beautiful pizzas, and like rarely do they eat them, it seems like. But they try. We encourage them to try. But then we say, "Well, just wait. In the fall and through the summer, and then in the fall, we're going to grow these beautiful peppers. And I bet if you taste one of those peppers in the garden, you'll eat them then." So it's kind of fun to do that. In the garden, we had fun. I learned what sour leaves were. I kept hearing about sour leaves. Sour leaves. What's that? Well, it's sorrel. They taste it and they go, "Ooh," but they like that. One day we made basil, and made picked basil and made pesto. And so we got ready to eat our pesto. Dorothy brings everything. It's amazing. But we got ready to eat our pesto, and we were sitting down, and I was like, okay, let's thank God for our pesto. And I was like, oh my goodness, whoops, I thought I was at a church event. And I was like, oh, I'm talking about God in a public school. And then before I knew it, they had their little hands folded and their heads bowed, like ready to give thanks. I was like, okay, let's go ahead. Let's thank God for our pesto. But anyways, that's just an example of it's great to see faith in kids. You know, you can see what's going on in some of these kids' homes. They're saying grace and they're thanking God, and you know that's really encouraging to see. Like people have said, I'm amazed at how the staff is so helpful and so supportive. Mrs. Johnson in the kitchen, her picture was up there. She came out one time, and we had literally picked a trash bag full of mustard greens. And so I don't know how exactly we went, but we told her, we've got these mustard greens. Can you use them? And she was like, yeah, I'll take them. And she made salads for all the kids in the garden. Oh, yeah. Oh, it was the one right before that. Oh, yeah. Mrs. Johnson in the cafeteria. She's really a lot of fun. I talked to the kids about gardening. A lot of them garden with their grandparents at home, which, you know, warms my heart because I love gardening with our grandkids, and it's fun to hear them talk about that. But I think in the garden, one of the main things is it brings people together. It's rich, poor, black, white, young, old. It doesn't matter. We're just all in the garden and having fun and just, you know, learning together. And just lastly, I think just the way it's blessed me most is, you know, we come to help others and try to bless them, but obviously we're the ones that really get the blessing. And I think it's the joy you feel when you go in Banneker School, and it's just impossible to have a bad day when you go to Banneker.
Again, see. Our final gardening, we have a number of volunteers, and volunteers come and volunteers go, and I want to feel sad when someone leaves or says she has other things to do, but we do believe that every volunteer needs to be in her place, and sometimes it's not at the garden. Sometimes people have to do other things. But we're a great crew together, and I can't think of a better way for us to learn. Sherry Tawhid we met her, did I meet you as a barista? Yes. Mentioned the garden, and she said, where is that garden? Sherry.
So remember the school bus, the magic school bus. Well, Miss Dodd is the magic school gardener at Benjamin Banneker. I met her, and she said, why don't you come help out? And I said, well, which Benjamin Banneker school is there? There's one on 63rd, there's one on Home, and then she tells me, no, there's one on Bells and Gregory. Never heard of that school before, so I go there. Everything everyone has said is the truth. And when I met Dorothy, I had quit my job of 15 years, and I was rebuilding self. So, going to that garden, I got to meet my little girl self. And I was a worm, a sourpuss, a troubled child. So being there, the light bulb did go off for things my great grandmother didn't allow in the house. So I love dirt. I love children that are not mine. And any child below the age of 10 has a special spot in my heart. After 10, I'm done. I don't care. Someone else's charge. So I was invited. I said, well, what day? She goes, Tuesday, Thursday. And I go, and I'm like, well, where's our lesson plan? What are we doing? And she goes, oh, it's fine. We're going to do the seed story. I don't know the seed story. What's the seed story? You just, hi, Miss Dot. Hi, Miss Dot. Sorry, Dorothy. She goes, hi, Miss Dot. Hi, Miss Dot. I'm nervous all the time because I'm like, tell me what to do, when, what time, in what order, and it'll be fine. Not too much planning. Don't trouble yourself. And we get there. It's planned, but it's Dorothy's plan. It works. I don't know how it works. It works. And anyway, I love the kids that are the worst. So if they were the troublemaker, the teacher was yelling at them, I'm like, they need a hug. We even had a autistic child, and the teacher was not skilled, and they were waiting for some help. And him and I resonated. He was like, the water. I was like, okay, I'll be with the water and you be with water. I said, one thing, just one thing. Don't get water on me. Don't spray anybody with the water. Water on him, his hair, all over himself, but no one else. So he did follow the rules. And the lady was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I was like, I got him. So I'm not in the garden anymore. I'm on the playground. I'm in the garden. But he's moving around. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my 10,000 steps in. I'm going to be good. I'll probably eat a piece of cake or something. And I thought, they didn't have that diagnosis when you were a kid, but you can relate. You just do what you want. What's going to happen? I was like, back then we had corporal punishment. Remember, you go to the principal's office or the ruler or the closet. Then the knife. So I'm thinking, okay, we're done. We pulled up the garden. The kids have had a great time. And she goes, well, we go inside and we're gonna do kitchen and knives. And I remember saying, the kids are gonna have knives. We can't even get them to, oh my God, what is she thinking? Knives. And she goes, oh, it's 5. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do the kitchen part. I'm just gonna stay in the garden. I'm not doing that. I'm definitely not. She doesn't even pay attention to them like that. She's like one to the next. We get in there and something shifts. So when they're inside, they have inside behavior. Children, when you're outside, you want to run around and be free. But inside, they have inside behavior. I, of course, had no idea they were going to have inside behavior. I just thought, what is going to happen? And so I had my table, and I was like, I got the bad table because I love bad kids. And I'm like, okay, guys, don't make me look bad. Okay. And they're like, mm-hmm. Anyway, like what I was saying. Remember, you keep the knife the way let's go over one at a time. What'd you say? were cutting and they were doing what they were supposed to do. And I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was getting poured into, and I was remembering the kid in myself. Because we're told, sit down, be quiet, behave, be appropriate. And you really do miss those jeweled moments of being young and free of mind and thought. And that was the treat that Dorothy gave to me by me being the person that I am, curious. So it is a wonderful opportunity to meet yourself again and to get poured into. And anyway, thank you.
What would you like for breakfast? You can tell that we have 10 times more to share with you than could possibly be done now. If you got the idea that it's a good place to be, it makes you feel good. It makes the children feel wiser, so forth. Would you put on the two? Maybe I can do it. I want to show you pictures of two women, and we've mentioned both of them. Yes, this is Miss Johnson, and she is, I think, the third food director in the school. The school has 500 children, so she's got a big job plus a team under her. And the first day I met her, I saw the logo on her shirt. There were a lot of food directors who said to you, up, back, you can't step over that line. At the same time, we were eating fresh vegetables from the garden, but we couldn't bring a germ into the. But Miss Johnson has a specialty, and that is children and nutrition. And she is the first person who ever took our extra produce into the kitchen and prepared salads for the children, who would come out and tell us how good the salads were from our own garden. So that was just a great circle there. And then I want you to meet Jimmy Ballard. Dr. Jimmy Ballard is the principal of the Banneker School. And she's the third one we've had since I've been there. And she's, well, just look at her. She stands at the front door every morning. We used to call it at Gordon Parks, taking a child's temperature, emotional temperature. And if that child was disturbed when the child arrived at school, the child would get to go someplace to cool down. Not tied someplace or in a dark room, but just to get his or her spirit calmed and ready to learn. She's great. When people talk about the district or public schools or people not trying, we all know better. We've seen it firsthand. So then we're going to move now to Sister Berta's Friendship Circles. I'm going to tell you really quickly what it is. It was an idea that came to Sister Berta, and when Sister Berta had an idea, she'd grab someone. In this case, it was me, and she'd say, Dorothy, what our moms need is a friend. They need someone to tell their sorrows to, someone to share their victories with. This is not about money. This is about making a friend. And I think it's just a miracle, because it's the same thing as you're saying, I'll do that. And what you're doing is stepping off a cliff, both the mom and the mentors, because it's been suggested that the 2 or 3 or 4 of you develop a friendship. Imagine a complete stranger, not only a stranger, but someone whom you never would have met, never seen, if you hadn't been in Operation Breakthrough. So that's the way it began, and we have 5 circles and 6 families from Operation Breakthrough, and some have been working at it for 12 years, and some are fresh now. So I want to introduce you to Emily Bond, who couldn't be here because she and her husband are helping their own parents in different places in the United States. And so she said that she would tape her 5 minutes. So here, meet Emily Bond.
Hi there. I will assume Dorothy has already given you the background and explained the Sister Berta's circle, so I'll leave that to her, and I will just launch right into my relationship with Kiera and her very sweet family and what it is meant to be. I thought I'd start with a quote by Richard Rohr, who says, "The Bible, or any other sacred text for that matter, is not meant to be an end unto itself. It's meant to put us into new and larger realities. In other words, there is no substitute for human experience." I think you could say the same about friendship. My friendship with Kiera has been many worlds all kind of rolled into one. It was both full of love and almost not meant to be from the very beginning. We met the day before Valentine's Day and the month before the world shut down for COVID. So, as you all remember, it was a crazy, crazy time. So just as we were beginning to get to know each other, we weren't allowed to see each other anymore. And we couldn't text because she doesn't text at all. She does the phone call thing, and she got us mixed up, which is fair because everyone at church thinks I'm Karen Lundgren, and Karen Lundgren is me. What we settled on was a haphazard schedule of bike riding with her 8-year-old son over at her house. And that gave her, we thought, kind of a break from her 24/7 hooped up with a very high-spirited 8-year-old who Mary Esselman from Operation Breakthrough calls a high flyer. We were smitten with him. The human experience part of Rohr's quote comes in as I've watched Kiera over the years be the best mom, the best employee she can be. Despite living through strings of the kind of circumstances and emergencies that seem to have always seemed to happen to those living on the limits of margins, and her pride and grit and determination really affected me deeply. I watched as we brought her son Montel home from the hospital when his dad had earnestly promised to care for her, which he had through the whole pregnancy. I watched it, and he said, "I will be there for you. I wasn't going to be there for him." He is not. Montel is not great. I've taken her to work with her feet burning from the neuropathy, a complication from diabetes, and I've seen her fighting with pride when Operation Breakthrough offered to pay the bills, to give her time off work when her son Michael was having some difficulties. "Emily," she told me, "I have worked since I was 15 years old. I'm not going to get paid for doing nothing." She just couldn't imagine being seen as anything but the hard worker that she is. Dorothy asked us to tell how this ministry has impacted us. And I think, again, with a quote, I think the best way to do that is to say, we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And Kiera has taken me out of my world and taken me into a world where, through no choice of her own, and despite some of her very good choices, she's been dealt a really raw deal. But she keeps her head up, she fiercely protects her children. She laughs when we go on field trips around the city where she's introducing me to Kansas City, she says, and shows me where all these things that happened and where she's lived over the years and tells stories about her grandma and all kinds of things. And she rolled her eyes when I know not one Tupac or Missy Elliott lyric. And she says, you need support. And I just say, there's so many stories I could tell, but I'll conclude with the most immediate one. The one that reminds me again of being inserted into human experience with another. As I sat down to gather my thoughts last week for this program, I got a phone call. Michael's face appeared on my screen with the emoji that he had made for me when he called, and I answered, expecting to hear his bright, cheery voice, and it was sheer terror and pain. His mom was on the floor, he had found her, and she wasn't responding to him at all, even though he was shaking her and calling her. And my mind kind of flashed back to Tuesday, when she called me to tell me she was growing up, and Montel Sr., the baby's dad, couldn't take him to school because it was his day off. And it was the same day Steve had jumped over the counter in CVS pharmacy, grabbing her prescriptions, including her insulin, and backpack before running out the door. Again, calamities that never end. Very long story short, but when I called 911, he became the hero of the day along with 3 Operation Breakthrough workers who were there within minutes of my call. Arranged things for the kids and food and diapers and all kinds of things. As of today, she's in the ICU in the cardiac at Truman, and she's still pretty out of it, but she'll be okay. And I think it just shows her life. And this ministry is sometimes how I see the Holy Spirit. Here's grit and humor in the face of so much trying and often disastrous circumstances. Is really, for me, nothing short of
I would, this is Joy Bowers, and she's a mentor in our Friendship Circles group, and she has something really special to share with us.
Thank you. I wasn't really planning on being here to begin with. I know that they're the story of the other 3 moms. That's the story that should be told by you all. The story that I want to tell tonight is the part that Ann Spicer played in our friendship circle. She was there from the get-go 12 years ago. We met Michelle. She's a mother of 6. So I'm not going to tell so much about her story as how Ann impacted our circle. You know, when you first get to know each other and you're getting to know a total stranger, you do this dance. Can you picture dogs being out in the parking lot circling each other and sniffing each other? We didn't do that, but we did a dance, and we got to know each other and learned how to trust each other. That was the most important part, trusting each other. And because of that, you know, we were able to walk with her on this journey of bad times and good times. And when there were bad times, Ann was like this warrior listener. She wouldn't talk much, but boy, would she listen. And then she was really good at paraphrasing what Michelle would say. And Michelle would say, yeah, you got it. Like one day when Michelle was really having a hard time, we all just decided, it was Anne's idea, to go to the garden, a beautiful garden, and just sit on a bench and just be with each other. And I don't even remember what we said that day or listened to that day. It's just being together on a bench in a garden to assuage Michelle from her worries. Sometimes there were times, when things are bad, we don't take pictures. I wish we had more. Oh, did you see that one there? That was the St. Patrick's Day parade. When we have our Brookside parade, Michelle wanted to join us with her kids. She said her kids had never been in a parade before. She says, come on, and she did the parade. Her kids were throwing out candy to people on the side, the curbs. So we had these wonderful times to be together when things were happy that we took pictures of. When things were stressful, maybe not. When George Floyd died, got killed in Minnesota, and there was that citywide event. It was a prayer event. There it is right there. We were on Troost, and there was 8 miles of Troost surrounded by people that were just praying. And police officers were going up and down the street honking their horn, and Michelle was waving. She goes, I've never heard police officers where I'm not afraid. And there she was waving to police officers that were going up and down Troost. And those were some of the good times. One of the things we've learned that it's not about us and them. It's about our relationships, and that's what everybody has done, even the garden. It builds relationships, and I think everybody in the Sister Berta circles would acknowledge that it's building friendships, and it just erases the division line between us and them. And then another testament towards Anne's impact on our group was that on Saturday night, kind of late, Michelle called me up on the phone, and she was sobbing because she had just found out about Ann Spicer. And all I could do was say, come to church with us on Sunday. Let's be together. And she did, absolutely. Picked her up, came. She got so much comfort, and the sermon that Mother Jean gave, Michelle was like nodding her head the whole way through. She needed to hear every word that Jean had to say. So really, I've got a lot of stories to tell about Michelle. Her story, there's that St. Patrick's Day parade, and they're so happy. So the story isn't so much about Michelle as what Anne did for Michelle and our relationships with each other. And it'll continue. Thank you.
Does everyone here know who Ann Spicer is? If you don't, raise your hand and we'll come. So the next person is also a mentor, and she's also related to me. I haven't run out of family yet. There are more who I haven't gotten here.